Welcome back, guys. Wow. So yesterday we got literally right after I posted the video, I see that Les Wexner has been named a unnamed accomplice to Epstein, which very well proves my theory that we are going to get more proof that blackmail was used. But I thought I would just take the opportunity and sort of, I know you guys probably already know what this is, but maybe you don't understand how the process works. So I just wanted to talk about blackmail and what blackmail actually is, how it's used, and let's just go ahead and talk about this, right? So, last night, and I recommend everybody watch this because it's definitely a great metaphor, allegory, whatever, to what's going on right now. I watched Eyes Wide Shut with Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. Great movie. Well, good movie, but there's a few plot holes, but overall, it's just a great example of blackmail. And in a way, it's kind of a plot twist because you kind of realize how the blackmail was used. And just watching that movie kind of made me realize, wow, this is really parallel to what's going on in real life. So I'm going to run through the movie and kind of tell you how this guy was coerced into doing things, okay? So we have Tom Cruise, who's the main character, Joe. I think that's his name. I can't remember. Anyway, he's a doctor, very wealthy guy. And the movie starts off with him at this party with his wife, right? And his wife is drunk, drugged. She's kind of fucked up, and she's going off and dancing with this random dude. And we later find out that his wife is like, got these weird sexual fantasies about, cheating on her husband and all this stuff. And she makes it very clear to him during the movie that she feels this way. Trust me, there's no lack of transparency there. It's kind of like, shit, I feel bad for the guy, kind of. But then you learn that this guy's not the best guy either, right? We learn that he kind of tests his morality too throughout the movie. Like, he does some weird stuff. Like, in the very beginning of the movie, he's obviously flirting with these two women, right? And he's obviously going to go with them to leave the party, but he gets called upstairs by the Ziegler, the guy's party, right? And he sees a girl in his office who's overdosed off of heroin. And we see that he, is kind to her, or Tom Cruise is kind to her, wakes her up, makes sure she's okay. But instead of getting her help, he really just kind of leaves her there. And he says, hey, she needs to stay here for an extra hour with this guy who obviously doesn't care at all about her, right? He should have called an ambulance, right? Being a doctor, that's legally what you're obligated to do, morally, legally, and obligated with whatever. Anyways, as a doctor, he's supposed to do that, right? But he doesn't. So that's sort of the first instance in the movie where we see he's kind of slipping the boundaries of being a moral doctor, upstanding member of society. We later see in the movie that he goes home, right, and his wife confesses about having this his wife basically confesses to have cheated on him, right, with this naval officer. And so he kind of loses it and then goes to check on one of his patients that died. But after that, instead of coming home, he kind of goes on like a walk through the city and looks for like random fucked up shit to do, essentially, right? He meets up with a prostitute, and he goes into this jazz bar and sees his buddy that he met at the party previously, who's playing piano there. And he learns that this guy is playing piano at this really elite rich party that there's a password to, and you have to wear masks, and apparently there's some crazy shit that goes on there. So very intrigued, Tom Cruise, right? He asked this guy, hey, I need to go to this party. Like, where can I go to see this party, right? Where can I go? And he gives him the address and the password. And then Tom Cruise goes and gets a costume and goes to the party, right? And we can kind of see, like, at this party, there's some very weird shit going on, right? There's some weird sexual things going on. This weird ritualistic chants going on. Obviously, everybody's anonymous. You can't tell who anybody is. And then Tom Cruise gets caught. And they're like, hey, you're not supposed to be here. But later on in the movie, you start to realize that the whole point of this, like, was just to point out that Tom Cruise, although he was seeking to go to places like this and do, you know, uh, immoral stuff, like, even though he was seeking it out, they were setting it up for him so that it would happen to him that way. Like, it would, like, for example, he just happens to run into a prostitute on the street that goes up and asks for him. I know that seems very common, but if you watch the movie, you'll understand that it doesn't seem random, right? And then he happens to know this guy that plays piano, Nick Nightingale, which a nightingale, if you don't know in folklore, is like a lure to do something off the moral path. So that just is kind of a symbol to show that, he's being led into this, right? Like, so all of this was essentially for him, just another way for them to get control of him. Why am I telling you all this? Like, why? What's the point of me going into all this? What's the point of me telling you how Tom Cruise's character in this movie, although was seeking out stuff like this, was also, led into it? Is because that's what elites and rich people, that's the power they have. They have the power to, in everyday life, regular life, put people in positions where they can have control over you, right? We see this in the first example of the movie, how Ziegler calls the doctor up, and, Tom Cruise not calling the ambulance, that's already some dirt that he's kind of getting on him, right? He already is like, hey, you're going to be loyal to me now that I know you've done this, right? Even though he was obviously the perpetrator here. And we see that, Tom Cruise, they threaten him, right? They threaten his family if he tells anybody about the party that he was at. And so now they have ultimate control over him, and that he doesn't even know who it is that has control over him. Later we realize in the movie that Ziegler was at this party and was likely even the leader of these ritualistic things that were going on at the party. So we see that maybe he is sort of at the top of the hierarchy here. And he tries to gaslight Tom Cruise into saying this was all just a joke. It was or not a joke. This was all set up. It was all theatrical. And maybe it was, who knows, maybe it was, but there are some very heavily implicated things in the movie, some of which have been removed, that imply that there is sex trafficking, there's child trafficking going on here. So just being a part of this, party thing already puts you in a position where you can be in very serious trouble just for being involved with this, right? So that's exactly what's going on in real life. That's exactly what Jeffrey Epstein is doing, or did, right? With all of these politicians, all of these celebrities. The celebrities definitely seeked this out, but he also set up the perfect, environment for this to happen, right? He has an island. He tells these people that there's going to be the most rich, powerful people here, and so we're all going to come hang out here. And maybe they didn't even know what they were getting into, but maybe they did. But anyways, after they leave the island, after all the fucked up shit they've done, now they've got the dirt on you. Now you're in their control, because they ultimately can decide what you're allowed and not allowed to do from here on out, right? And that's what blackmail is. That's how they use it. It's not just like, hey, I turned the corner on the street and saw you, smoking crack, so, give me $10,000 or I'm going to tell your family and your boss and all that, right? It's not just that, plain and simple. It's coercion is heavily involved. It's sort of like this like Jeffrey Epstein is sort of like this Nightingale character from the movie, right? He leads these people here, leads them off the path of morality, right? Maybe sees them in a more vulnerable state and realizes, hey, you're going to have a great time here. You should come here, right? So he gets all these people to come here and gets everything they do, gets it on tape, and then keeps it, right? So yeah, that's how ultimately he would gain power over people, and that's why it's so dangerous that a person like this could have so much influence, because now you're essentially in control of, politicians, billionaires, celebrities, right? That's like, all of the world's influence, right? Like you can do so much with that, right? That's essentially like a great power for one person, right? So why am I telling you all of this too, right? Because this is the same thing that happened with Diddy and all that, all right? He did this to celebrities as well. Well, this is what I want to tie in to last video that I posted, the part one of this, essentially, about his ties with Israel and his ties with the IDF, with Ehud Barak, with Robert Maxwell, with Les Wexner, and with Leon Black, right? All of these very powerful people that are heavily pro-Israel, right? So the reason that this is especially, like, even though this is already probably the most, huge case of blackmail in history, and it's the most dangerous one just for our country, right? This is especially dangerous because what if Jeffrey Epstein had all of this information on people that he maybe threatened them with, hey, I'm going to release this to the American public. But what if he gave that information to his buddies in the IDF and they have had it this whole time, right? And we know that Israel already has so much influence over the US and the politicians here and some of the celebrities, right? We know this. So is this all for the purpose of enriching Israel? Is the biggest question about this. And it's my belief that yes, I think that is ultimately one of the biggest reasons why this all happened. Like, Jeffrey Epstein was a nobody before he met Leon Black and Wexner. He was nobody. Like, he was just a fucking random ass, financial consultant. But they profiled him and they knew that he was, this confident young guy that already had so much, natural ability to manage and control rich people and their finances, that we're going to take advantage of this, right? We're going to take advantage of this Jeffrey Epstein guy. We're going to, set him up and give him millions of dollars. We're going to partner with him. He's going to work for us. He's going to work it. He's going to manage Wexner's money, right? His billions of dollars. And he's going to become this really popular, famous, essentially Bruce Wayne kind of character, right? That just has all this money, has a private island. So and it was Zionists that got him to that position. It was, Jews that got him to this position. It was people of power, people that were, that have massive influence over, young Jewish leadership and all of this stuff that got him to that position. So, is all of this just a huge timeline that leads ultimately to Israel having the ultimate authority over us? And sorry about that, my fuck-ass phone cut out because my storage is full. Anyways, that's just the whole point of this video, is yes, I do think that is the reason that he is so famous. That's the reason that all this blackmail happened. So yeah, the whole point of this video is really just me trying to explain to you guys what kind of blackmail this was, how it was systematically used, what the purpose of it was, and who does this benefit in the end, right? So think about it, and I'm gonna post more about this. I'm gonna go even deeper into it. I'm gonna talk about who was blackmailed, right, and where do their allegiances lie today. So yes, that is it's been a great video, and stay tuned for more. I'm definitely going to be posting more about this. Peace.